Woodworking is a lot like engineering. There's a lot of parallels, and we're going to be talking about that today. Welcome to Shop Talk. Hey everyone, my name is Vecellio. By day, I'm the principal engineer over at NoBS, a Datadog Premier Partner, and nights and weekends, I'm down here in my wood shop making stuff out of wood. Anytime we do something in the shop, just like in engineering, we have to make sure our tools are sharp. That's where we always start. Today we're going to talk about migrations into Datadog. And migrations into Datadog are actually a lot like turning a bowl from a piece of wood. We start with a block of wood. Sometimes it's just a square rectangle piece of wood like this. Sometimes it's a log. Sometimes it's half a tree. Sometimes it's Splunk. Sometimes it's New Relic. Sometimes it's AppDynamics. But the first thing that we have to do is we have to get it mounted onto our lathe, and we've really got to figure out what's inside of this piece of wood before we figure out how to approach it. There's two things that I like to make sure of to be safe and secure in my shop. First of all, lots of good lighting. I gotta be able to see what I'm doing. Second of all, gotta make sure I don't hurt the moneymaker. All right, so now that we have our piece of wood mounted, we got our tool in hand, we're all set up to start taking the first cuts, and we're gonna go ahead and see what's inside of this block of wood. When we start thinking about the shape of the bowl, this is where we also start thinking about the shape of our migration. So when I look at the rings of the wood here, I can start to determine what slope I want to make the bowl and what do I want to bring over and what do I want to shave off of this and leave on the floor. When we're looking at this, we start to figure out exactly what we're going to turn off and how we're going to shape our nice, beautiful bowl. I really don't need this part, but I know that this part is going to be the rim. This is going to be functional. This is where we're going to put our snacks, our popcorn, what have you. So my plan for now, I'm going to finish shaping the outside of this until it's totally round. Then I'm going to start taking mass off of the bottom here, and I'm going to make a connector down here. At the bottom of this bowl, when it's ready to be flipped around, I'm going to flip the whole thing around and turn out the inside. And that's when things really start taking shape. So at this particular step, we've got a few things going on. We have our bowl, it's rounded. This is not a square block of wood anymore. We can see where we're going. We've crafted the tenon on the bottom of it. And this is how we're gonna hold the piece of wood into the chuck over here as we turn out the inside of it. And we've started on just a little foot here. And these are the fundamentals of a bowl. The fundamental parts is one, you gotta find a way to hold it, obviously, or you can't turn the inside of it. Two, it's gotta have something to sit on. That's going to be the foot. And three, the foot gives us the area where we can shave off the rest of this bowl into a nice looking outside. And these fundamentals are very similar to a migration. We already talked about what you're going to bring over, but how are you actually going to do it? We have to figure out what dashboards are in use, what monitors are in place, what notifications need to be sent out. Think about what needs to be reevaluated from your other platform there. The alerts that have been going off 1,000 times a week for the past 6 years that nobody responds to anymore, do you need those? No. No, you don't. The 10,000 warning alerts that triggered that went to just a random Teams channel that may or may not exist anymore from Splunk, no, you don't need those anymore either. All the dashboards that you've created for specific data centers and environments and everything when you could have just done a one-to-many pattern inside of Datadog, you don't need that anymore. And now we can really start to figure out, now that we've got a grasp on how to hold this, who do we start assigning this work out to? Is this going to go out to a third party like ourselves? Is this going to go out to a team internally? Do we need further evaluation? There's a lot of things to consider at this point. And as much as this looks like it could be a bowl, this is an ugly bowl. This could be a lot more attractive. I take a lot of pride in my work behind the keyboard and behind the lathe. So we're not going to leave it like this. We're going to do a lot more here. But this is the really fundamental, basic starting point of where we're going to go. We now kind of have our guiding path towards anything else that we're going to do in our migration / bowl making. Using the foot that I've carved here, I'm going to take in more of this and make this a nice, more pleasing shape. And when we think about what's a pleasing shape when we're moving into Datadog, this is a clean environment. It's well tagged. Everything has proper environment and service tags and teams. All of your notifications are relevant and contain runbooks. You've left all the scrap on the floor to be taken out to the trash eventually as soon as I clean up. Don't worry about that. The shop's always clean. After I turn the outside of this, I can no longer change what this shape is. Once I flip this around and start working on the outside is what it is. So this is your time to plan and make sure that you understand what it is you're doing, you feel good with the process, that you're ready to do the work on the inside. And the work on the inside is where we determine how functional this is actually going to be. I think the biggest thing to think about functionality wise is not whether it lasts for years or is delicate and fragile. It's what is our actual goal of the project? And I think one thing that we really want to consider that we can draw back to wood is ease of use. And that's something that Datadog offers that a lot of other products don't. If you look at some of these other tools like Splunk and New Relic and App Dynamics, they're all very opinionated in their usage. And so is Datadog to an extent, and that's totally fair, except the opinions of these other tools lock you into bad patterns that we want to avoid. A lot of times when we do migrations, what we see is that people have done a one-to-one to one-to-one type dashboard monitor alert. So when we look at what we're trying to actually bring over from one platform to another, people will say, oh, I've got 4,000 dashboards and 10,000 alerts. And the first thing I say is, no, you don't. We're actually talking about a fraction of that because those can all be deduplicated. We are talking about bringing ease of use into your observability by using Datadog. We have one monitor that covers hundreds of things that then has those notifications sent out via notification policies to where those need to go. We have dashboards that are templated that anyone can go into, select their environment, their service, their application, any combination of those, and see the exact data that they need to see. We don't need 1,000 dashboards to represent 1,000 items. We need a small handful that are concrete and built well, that are bringing in that top tier functionality and the best user experience that we can possibly have. So at this point in time, you might have noticed I took my shield off. And we still need to worry about safety and security. However, the type of safety and security we need to worry about right now is a dust mask. And the reason being is that we have a nice shape, but it's still a little bit rough to the touch. And as much as I was pretty careful in my cuts, at the end of the day, it's wood. It needs to be sanded down because people want to be able to handle it properly. And so when we think about that in terms of migrations, we want to think about softening the approach. And I mentioned earlier having good tagging and everything in place. This is where we really want to make sure that our tagging strategy is locked down and solid. We understand that everything has end and service tags. We understand that we've put in department, application, region, location, data center. I could go on, but that's not what we're here for. We want to make sure that the tagging strategy is concrete and usable and that it feels good to work with. If people don't understand why it's there, why it's present, what the values are, it's not going to work. We've got a nice outside, it's buffed, it's smooth, still doesn't have any finish, but that's the nice last part of things. But what we do want to do as we're turning this around is make sure that we're keeping it safe and secure, because when you're spinning things really, really quick, just like we talked about earlier, certain things can still go wrong. I want to keep a little bit of support against the end of this. And this might be where you bring in other teams for support. You bring in your business stakeholders, your application teams. You make sure that the progress you've made on the outside looks good. I want to make sure that if I'm making something for my house that, before I really turn out the inside of it and call the outside done, I'm going to bring it back up to my wife and say, hey, is this something that you want to sit on the table or eat M&Ms out of? You don't have to bring your dashboards to your wife, but you should bring them to the people that are going to use them. So we're going to even this out so we can see where we're going to go into it, what angle, where we're going to create the wall thickness of the bowl. And this is going to be the next step in our migration. We've got a nice outside, but now we're going to start doing the really functional part, which is how the inside works. And just that little bit is all it takes. We've got a nice flat top. We can see what the wood actually looks like without the wax. And now we can move this out of the way. And now we have full access to the inside, and we can really start hollowing out the inside of the bowl here and not start to make it actually functional. So even after just a few first cuts, or the few first dashboards, or the few first alerts, or whatever you're bringing over, we have a pretty important choice to make. So we've started to kind of shape the inside of our bowl, but how thick do we want these walls to be? We're almost at the end here, where we can really start refining the inside shape. Then all we have to do is sand it, put some finish on it, and then we're done. And just like that, we've got a ball. If you made it this far through the video, you're either really interested in wood turning or migrations. But if you want to win this bowl, get in touch, book a meeting with us, talk to us about migrations, and this could be yours.
Again, shop talk.
Shop talk.